Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a very exciting video where I chat about some of my favorite audiobooks. So I've been really in an audiobook mood lately. I just feel like they're so convenient. And it took me a while to get used to listening to audiobooks, just doing random stuff like around my house or, walking my dogs, whatever. Just because I'm such a big music lover. Like, I love music. A little fun fact, I love to play guitar and to sing. It's one of my favorite hobbies. And I just love music. So it was kind of hard for me to get into audiobooks at first, but when I did, I just fell in love with them. And I love them. I listen to them when I'm at the gym, cooking dinner, just doing random stuff. So I love audiobooks and I wanted to share some of my favorites with you. So let's get right into this video. The first three books are going to be all historical romances. So if you are a historical romance lover, I actually have been reading a ton of historical romances on audio and I just love it. There's something about listening to a historical romance audiobook that I just love. Like, I read majority of my historicals on audio, but I read this one recently, which is Love in the Afternoon by Lisa Kleypas, and absolutely loved it. This is the fifth and final book in the Hathaways series. And I don't think you have to read this series in order. You can. They are like companion novels and follow the same family. I recommend reading in order, but you don't have to. Like, the first book is also amazing. Like, I gave that one 5 stars. But this one is about Beatrice, and Beatrice has always just been a little quirky, different. She loves to play with animals, and she's like kind of an animal whisperer. Like, she really loves animals, any type of animal, and she loves taking care of them. And so she's kind of known as like a little bit of a weirdo in society, but like it's a good type of weirdo. And I just love her so much. I think she's so funny, and I love her love for animals. And so this starts off with our hero and heroine in an epistolary penmanship romance. So our heroine's best friend Prudence is kind of this like stuck up high society girl, wants to find a husband but doesn't really care about the damages of leading all these men on, and so she has been writing a suitor named Christopher who is in the war right now, and she doesn't want to keep writing to him, but Beatrice feels really bad. Like, he always looks forward to your letters, like you should keep writing him. And then Prudence is like, well, why don't you write to him under my name? And so she's like, okay, I'll do that. And so she starts writing to Christopher as Prudence, and they kind of really have a connection, and he thinks he's totally falling in love with Prudence, but it's actually Beatrice, and it is so funny. And so after the war, he comes back, and he actually has a dog that he comes back with from the war. And the dog is kind of crazy, like he needs a lot of training. And so at first, Beatrice really helps him with that. But he doesn't know that Beatrice has been the one writing to him this whole time. But he feels this like attraction towards her. And he's like, why do I find her attractive? I've always thought she was this weird girl who loves animals. And then they start hanging out more and more. And he's trying to find out who is actually the writer, because he's starting to think it's not Prudence, and it is really, really good. I love this one. It's very angsty, and it was just so good. He becomes very possessive over the heroine, and I just loved it. I love Lisa Kleypas' writing, and I think she's such a great writer, and I just ate this up. This is definitely one of my favorites of the series. The next two books are by Lorraine Heath, and I absolutely love Lorraine Heath. I've been listening to a lot of her audios on my Hoopla, and I've just fallen in love with her audiobooks and her writing. I've always really liked her. The past couple of years I've been reading from her, but I really fell in love with her audios. So I listened to this one on audio, of course, and it is incredible. Like, one of my favorites from Lorraine Heath. So it's very angsty. So our heroine has always wanted to marry somebody of high status in society, and so she finds out that this duke is trying to find a wife, and he wants women to send in letters to him of why they should be his wife. And she starts talking to her best friend's older brother because she doesn't really know what to say in the letter. She really wants to marry somebody of high status, and he's always kind of had a crush on her, and they just start spending more and more time together and really getting a connection with each other and kind of starting to catch feelings for each other. And she ends up sending in the letter and being engaged to the Duke, and something happens to the hero where he is in a really bad situation and he's kind of shunned from society. And so now it's a couple months later and she feels really stuck in this situation because she does not want to marry the Duke anymore, but she's like, I have to because he picked me, like I can't say no to a Duke. And the hero was gone, so she felt really stuck, but now the hero's back, and he is kind of a totally different person. He is hardened from life. He's a lot more morally gray, a little scarred from the experiences that he had to go through, and he now owns a pleasure club. And so she goes to visit him at the pleasure club and is like so mad at him for leaving her, and they still have all these feelings for each other, but she's like stuck. She's like, I don't want to marry this Duke, but I have to, I feel like. And it's just so angsty and really, really good. I absolutely love this one. It is fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. It was so good. The audio was amazing. Definitely go check it out. This next book is one of my all-time favorites from Lorraine Heath. This is a part of her Scoundrels of St. James series. This is the second book. You don't have to read these in order, but you can if you want to. I like to, just so you can see all of the characters again. But this one is definitely my favorite of the series. It was incredible. So our heroine is now becoming a widow because she was married to a Duke and he passed away, but they have a son together. And so on the inheritance, the person that is named as the sole beneficiary is Jack, who is the hero, and he is a known scoundrel, known rogue. He is like, everybody in society is like, stay clear of him. And she is so shocked that he is named the sole heir, like, to keep over her son, like watch all the finances until he comes of age. She's shocked because she's like, what the heck, like how is this random guy like in charge of all my finances now? And so she really hates Jack, and it's very hate to love. At one point she tries to escape with her son, who is 5 years old, into like the countryside, and he catches her, and it is so funny. He's like, you are not getting away from me, I am keeping you. And it was so good. They have so much like tension and angst between each other, so much chemistry. It was amazing, and there's some action with like the mysteryness of why he's named like the sole beneficiary. But I love this one. I ate it up. There were lots of twists and turns in it, and I just really, really loved it. Highly, highly recommend. Okay, so now I'm going to get into some contemporary romances. So I had to put this series on here. Y'all know this is like one of my favorite series. I just like always come back to it because I love it so much. So if you've never heard of this series, it is a motorcycle romance series, and it follows two couples in each book. One of them actually is the same couple, but that I don't want to like talk about that book right now. But the first one is Lessons in Corruption. Yes. I almost forgot the title. And the audios for this one are so amazing. Gianna Darling, the author, really put so much thought into who she was going to choose as the narrators, and I think she chose the perfect people for her series. So this first book is a reverse age gap, which means that the heroine is older and the hero is younger. And this is also a student-teacher romance, and so the heroine just got out of a really nasty divorce, and she has always been like a rule follower, never really done anything crazy in her life, and she's now at a new school and she's working there. She goes out with her like school friends, her teacher friends, for a night out, and when she was figuring out why she wanted to get divorced, she saw this man in a grocery parking lot who she thought was the most beautiful man. And she never saw him again, but she's like, I want to experience real love. I don't want to be stuck in this marriage. Basically, her marriage was kind of like a forced marriage. Like, she agreed to it, but she didn't want to really. Like, her husband was her neighbor and her parents, and the husband really groomed her into being his wife. And so she really just wanted to figure out who she wanted to be as a person. And so she goes out in the night, like on the town or whatever, and she sees the guy from the parking lot, and they have a conversation. They have a fun night out, and she thinks she's gonna see him again. And so the next day in her classroom, she sees him again in her classroom. And so he is actually the son of the president of the motorcycle club, and it is a wild ride of fun things. She's kind of exploring what she likes in a partner, and it was just so beautiful. I love this story. It's perfect for fall. It had so many fall vibes. She loves to bake apple pies, which I love, but this one is just so amazing. I really love it. This whole series is amazing. Inked in Lies is my favorite. But there are so many tropes in the series. This is darker though, like not super dark, but if you don't like dark romance, I probably wouldn't, I don't know. I would check the triggers. But I love this series. My favorite is Inked in Lies, and the second book is like a fan favorite, Welcome to the Dark Side, which everybody loves that one. I think that's read this series, but I just love it so much, and the audiobooks are amazing, so definitely go check them out. The next book I want to talk about is Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark. So this is the second book in the Brutal Birthright series. So I listened to this one on audio like a year ago, and I just fell in love with it. This one is amazing. So our hero, I think he's a part of the Polish Mafia, maybe. I can't really remember. But anyways, he basically goes through something really traumatic in his home country, and he gets into the mafia of his home country. And so now it flash forwards to the present, where he is kidnapping the daughter of one of the most influential mafia families in Chicago and in the country, and he takes her as his, and she's a ballet dancer, and it is a hate to love, capture captive romance. There's a ton of action, and where he like once he is trying to like ransom her, but then he's like, I don't want to let her go. It's really, really good. I loved it. I love the audiobook. I thought the narrators were amazing. This book is so good, and it's angsty because she's like the enemy, and he is the enemy, and she doesn't want to fall for him, but she's like falling for him, and it's so, so good. Highly, highly recommend. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Sinner by Sierra Simone. So this book is fantastic. So I first actually started reading it on like physically and wasn't really loving it, so I decided to listen to the audio of it and absolutely fell in love with this story. So it is a billionaire age gap romance, and so our hero is like working at this big name brand company, and he is a billionaire, I think, or a millionaire, and he has this gala at like a company benefit, and he sees this woman, and he is just like instantly enraptured with her, like really, really likes her, wants to get to know her, but then the next day he never sees her again. And his company is actually building like a building on top of this like rescue that has like a bunch of, it's like a church funded rescue, I think, where like nuns and a bunch of nuns work there, and so they're like, that will look really bad for business if we destroy this, and then we, you know, take them out of their place of work. And so he goes down to talk to one of the nuns to like kind of figure it out, and the person that he's agreed with is the woman from the other night, and he also finds out that she is the little sister of his childhood best friend. So kind of forbidden, and she is not yet a nun yet, but she wants 1 month with the hero to kind of explore life, and she's never been in a relationship before or done anything, and so she's like, I want to experience this with you before I can't do that the rest of my life, and he agrees. So they catch feelings for each other, and it is really good. It's kind of very angsty because she's like, I really want to become a nun, but I also really love you and I want to be with you, and you don't even know to the end if she's going to become a nun or be with the hero, and it is just so good. I really, really love this one. I will say trigger warnings for the hero is losing his mother in this book. Like his mother is dying from cancer, and so that's very prevalent throughout the book and a very emotional aspect to it. But I just love this book, and I really like this series, so definitely go check it out. So this next book is Tied by Karen Cole. So this one is kind of a very unique romance, I feel like, and it's dark, so know that going in. The heroine gets kidnapped, I think when she's like 5, and then she gets out when she's 16, and the hero's the one that saves her. He finds her in the woods and basically saves her, and she does not have like the mind of like a person at the age of 16. She still has a very childlike mind, so she goes to this like rehabilitation center and comes back, and she's still trying to reacclimate to life. But when she was like in captivity, she would read all of these fairy tale romances and would always be waiting for her Prince Charming, her white knight, and she really thinks that the hero is her Prince Charming and her white knight still to this day. And so she goes and tries to find him and realizes that he is a recluse. He lives in the woods. He does not like people. He's very grumpy, but they kind of start up a friendship first, and he really helps her through her trauma, and she helps him through his trauma. He had a lot from his past that he went through, but I just thought this story was so amazing. I really, really loved it. I loved their slow burn romance of being friends first and really like healing from both of their trauma and then starting a romance. He is a lot older than her, but I didn't mind it. I love age gap romances, so I really love this one. It was such a great audiobook. Highly recommend. The next book I have to mention or series is the Tattered and Torn series by Catherine Cowles. So I love Catherine Cowles, and I first listened to this first book on audio and really, really loved it. Her audiobooks are amazing. I highly recommend them. But this whole series is a small town romance suspense series. Each of them have different tropes. The first book, our heroine, her father was very like kind of culty, like they lived in the mountains, they weren't in society, and he would make his kids go through these like survivalist challenges, kind of like Doomsday-esque, and so he ends up going really, really far with this and kidnapping a little girl. And so the heroine, she basically saves a little girl. She rides in the night on her horse to like the police, and it's like, my dad kidnapped her. And so ever since then, years later now, like the family kind of outcast her because she was a part of that like family in that society in like the mountains that didn't believe in society, and she feels really guilty about that, and her family just thinks that she betrayed them. So she's kind of in this weird situation where she feels like she has no one, and so she goes back to her hometown, the small town, to live there again and start a new life for herself. And she meets the sheriff of the town, and he really, really hates her because he blames her for what happened to his sister. His sister was the one who was kidnapped, and so they have to work through some stuff, but then she's also getting threatened, and so there's this suspense aspect, and he has to protect her, and it is just really good. I really, really love this series. All of the books I've really enjoyed. Highly, highly recommend. Last book series I want to mention is I don't know what series this is actually called. I think it's the like fall, no, that's not it. It's like the It Ain't Me Babe series. I don't remember what it's called, but the first book is It Ain't Me Babe. This is a very dark motorcycle romance series. It's pretty long, so it's pretty bingeable. I think there's so much action and drama in these books. So this basically revolves around this cult, this like religious cult, and the like motorcycle club helps save them and like helps them escape. And so the first book is about our heroine. She is like the next like woman to become like a sister wife, I think, or something like that. And so she escapes and she tries to find the hero because she actually saw him when she was really young, like 5 years old. Like she saw him across like the fence of this like cult place, and they really formed a friendship and connection, and the hero is non-speaking, and he like really connected with her. And so she basically goes out into this like world she's never been in before, like never been in society, and she stumbles across a motorcycle club, and she finds the hero, and he is the president of the club, and they start up a romance, and it's really, really good. I really like this series. It's very dark though. Like I would look up the triggers for this series because it is pretty dark stuff. But I love it. I really love this series. I have really enjoyed all of the books from this series that I've read, and I just love the heroes and the heroines and their stories, but also like the cult like storyline, because a lot of crazy stuff happens with that. But I just love the series. I listened to a lot of the audiobooks in this series, and it was really, really good. Alright, well that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about all of my favorite audiobooks.